Dear guest, please forgive me. I was running from my class, and as usual, the closer the end of the term, the more questions you are getting at the end of each class. So, and now to our folklore lunch. Thank you for coming. There are projects which you conceive, you design, you undertake, but there are also projects which just, drops on you. And UCAMA project is exactly this type of project. It happened to the Hull Folklore Center, and we're trying to do our best to process all the materials which we received last fall. In more details about the project, Maria and Maryna will tell you, but let me introduce our speakers today. Dr. Maria Mayerchyk is a senior research scholar at the Institute of Ethnology, National Academy of Sciences of Ukraine. Her scholarly interests are in the areas of folklore, diaspora studies, feminism, decolonization studies, European periphery. Maria is co-founder and editor-in-chief of the journal Feminist Critique, East European Journal of Feminist and Queer Studies. Recently, Maria also has been working very closely with the Hull Folklore Center, and she first worked with us as a research fellow, and currently she is our curatorial assistant, specifically focusing on the UCAMA project. Maria published a number of monographs and scholarly articles, and recently also tried her pen as the author of a children's book, Anna's Dream. And Maryna Chernyavska serves as the researcher at the Hull Folklore Center and the archivist of the Bogdan Medvedsky Ukrainian Folklore Archives. She has an MA in Ukrainian Folklore and a Master of Library and Information Studies from the University of Alberta. Maryna works on a number of projects, both archival projects and research projects at the Hull Folklore Center. She publishes articles, works on exhibits. She started a number of very innovative initiatives. She is our master, our digital master, and without her, our center would be really existing only on paper. And Maryna is heart and soul of the Hull Folklore Center. So, all right, at this point, I will disappear. And Maryna, please present.
Thank you, Helena, for such a kind introduction. I guess being able to use command line makes you some kind of a magician these days. Thank you so much. I appreciate this. I will be first to present. So I'm going to share my screen. Our presentation today will consist of 3 parts. First, I'll provide a brief introduction and the contextual information for the UCAMA processing project. Then I will do a demonstration of our archival database and show how materials can be found. And then Maria will go into detail and present 2 of the processed collections that she worked on. Oops, sorry, it's a bit too fast. Most of the people present here, maybe everyone present here, knows that UCAMA stands for Ukrainian Canadian Archives and Museum of Alberta. This heritage institution was established in 1974 to a large degree due to the vision of Grigory and Stefania Yopik, who started collecting various Ukrainian heritage artifacts and records way before the institution was established, at least from 1968. The mission of UCAMA was to enrich appreciation of the Alberta experience by collecting, preserving, displaying, and promoting the region's Ukrainian heritage. And its holdings consisted of various museum artifacts, archival records, as well as publications. In 2020, UCAMA dissolved and distributed its collections to a variety of other Ukrainian heritage institutions across the province. Those who are interested in UCAMA history can, of course, read Grigory Yopek's Ukraine-Canadian Archives and Museum of Alberta, Artifacts of Ukrainian Pioneers of Alberta book that came out in Ukrainian first in 1982, and then in English 5 years later. There is also a UCAMA report available on the website of UCC-APC that details events and final distribution of collections that happened through the summer, fall, and part of the winter of 2020. And there is also a final note to our valued community written by UCAMA Board of Directors that can be found on the archived UCAMA website that is available on the Internet Archive. And here is the screenshot of the beginning of this letter. So starting between September and December 2020, all the UCAMA archival collections were transferred to the Folklore Center to be deposited into the Bogdan Medvitsky Ukrainian Folklore Archives. There were over 300 boxes plus many other pieces, like framed pieces and many other things. Different media, different formats, mostly paper records, but also photographs, a lot of audiovisual materials, slides, different kind of tapes that contained information about Ukrainian-Canadian organizations, community organizations, businesses, community leaders, farmers, artists, scholars, politicians, etc. I would like to use this opportunity to thank several individuals without whom physically moving those collections would be impossible. Big thank you to Chrystia Kogut, Greg Borovets, Alexander Makar, Karen Lemisky, Eric Fincham, volunteer Zhenya, I unfortunately don't know his last name, who spent numerous hours packing, identifying, sorting, carrying many boxes up and down the stairs. Without you, this wouldn't be possible. So in the fall of 2020, we were able to contract Maryna, Mayerchyk, and Daria Chikunova. Daria was a young Canada Works student to start working on processing UCAMA collections. Very soon, we realized that working with these materials requires very specific skills, without which the work is not efficient, or if possible at all. In addition to understanding of Canadian archival practice and attention to detail, it is absolutely necessary to know Ukrainian-Canadian history, at least to some extent, and also the knowledge of Ukrainian language is indispensable, as many of the records are in Ukrainian. We also had Eric Fincham digitize part of the photograph collection. So here is on the screen, you can see a list of collections that have been processed to date. And it's quite an impressive list, considering that many of these are multiple boxes. Each collection may consist of a number of boxes of records. All but one, I believe, on this list have been processed by Maryna. And I feel like I skipped one slide. Yes, I would like to also thank you, Shevchenko Foundation. In summer 2021, we received a grant from the Michael and Victoria Shalapata Designated Fund to be able to continue working with Maryna in her capacity as project archivist. I would like to make an announcement here for those who are interested. We are currently looking for volunteers to transcribe and translate captions for UCAMA photographs that have been digitized to date. And if captions are not available, to identify people, events, dates, places, to make this rich collection available and searchable online. This is an example of a photograph front and verso, and you see that the caption is typed in Ukrainian. And here is another example of Ukrainian pioneers' senior home in Smoky Lake, Alberta, which is, and the caption is handwritten. So without this information existing as a metadata, this collection cannot be possibly searchable. If you're interested, please get in touch, and we would be happy to work with you to make this collection available online. And before I move to the second part of the presentation and start demonstrating our database, I wanted to thank Mayerchyk, my colleague, who is my co-presenter today, without whom this presentation would be possible and without whom we wouldn't be where we are today. It's her hard work, her numerous hours of work that allowed to have these collections processed. One more slide that I forgot to mention. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to present to you our archival database. It's accessible at the URL that you see on the screen. It's quite easy to remember, archives.ukrfolk.ca. I'm going to show you how to browse the UCAMA materials, how to search them, and provide some search tips that will make your search more efficient and hopefully easier. So this is our archival database. I'll enlarge it so it's easier for you to see. Okay, can you see well? So this database, Ukrainian Folk Life Archive, as you see the title on top, it contains this archival descriptions of many collections at the Bogdan Medvitsky Ukrainian Folklore Archives. And we constantly add new descriptions as we process backlog materials or newly acquired materials. So when we process UCAMA collections, their descriptions also are also uploaded into this database. So for browsing, in the top left corner here, can you see my mouse, my cursor as I'm moving it?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. You can browse materials, descriptions within the database by collections, people and organizations, subjects, places. So all of these are hyperlinks. And if you click on each of them, you see a number of options that you can, again, click on and explore further. You can also access this browse menu in the top, in the header. There's this button browse, clicking on which allows you to have the same options from anywhere in this website. Wherever you are, you always have this browse button available here. Another thing to note, wherever you are in the website, you can always go back to the home screen by clicking on the name of the archives or our logo in the top left corner. So again, wherever you are, if you need to go back home to the home page, this is what you can do. Let's click on collections to be able to see a list of archival descriptions. Collections here are sorted alphabetically by default. You see they start with A. You can also sort them by date modified, by identifier, and you can see them in a ascending or descending order. You should note that only top level descriptions are listed in here. And I would like to show you this little chart to note that according to Canadian archival standard, archival materials are arranged and described hierarchically. So on the very top level, we usually have a phone or a collection, which can have in its turn series, sub-series, files, and items. So when I'm saying that these are only top level descriptions, then you can see this tag on top of the list. This means that only a phone or a collection, phone or collection descriptions are listed in here. We usually use the term collection for a variety of reasons, one of which is simply to make it more user-friendly for you. On the left of the screen, you can see a bunch of options that can help you narrow your results. Repository, we can talk about this in a such network context. It's not so important here, but you can filter by creator, you can filter by name, and name may be not necessarily creator. It can be a person or organization that is associated with the description as a subject or mentioned in this description. You can also filter by place. You can filter by subject. For example, if I click on Ukrainian Canadians, you notice that it now shows, instead of 300 something results or 200, it shows only 75 results. You can also filter by the level of description. And as I mentioned, by default, these are only top level descriptions, but you can cancel these filters by, disable these filters by clicking on these tags. And as you see, the number of the results grows. The last thing to mention about browsing is that there are 20 results per page. And if you scroll down, you will see different pages that you can navigate through. All right, let's go to search. You can search material, any descriptions within the database from anywhere, again, within the website, through this global search field on top of the screen in the header. That header is always there. You can type your search results, your search word. For example, let's type Michael Luchkovich. As you type, you will notice that there is a drop-down list that has a number of results offering to you, and all of these are hyperlinks, so you can click on any of them. You will notice that there is a little icon of a sheet, of a paper sheet on the left, which means these are archival descriptions. And then there is a person icon below, which means these are people and organizations, meaning creators of records, and you can click on any of them. If you don't see a desired result, or if you would like to see more results, you simply press enter or return on your keyboard. And the search results screen is very similar to the browsing screen that we just saw earlier, with a few exceptions. So you still have on the left, you can still see the narrowing options that allow you to refine your search, and instead of going through 95 descriptions, create a more narrowed and more efficient search results for your to meet your needs. But the difference between this and browsing browsing screen is that the level of description includes all of the descriptions, not only the top level as in the browse, plus the default sorting is from most relevant to least relevant. Although you can always change this sorting by clicking here and choosing, for example, title to have the results listed alphabetically, or by date modified and things like that. Once you click on the collection, you can, this is the top level, so you can read about the date ranges, the physical description that gives you quite a good understanding how big the collection is. So this one is over a meter, and it has also, aside from textual records, some photographs and objects. You can read biography for the creator here. You can collapse it as well. And scope and content is a very important field because it shows you the content of these records, of this collection. Here at the bottom, you can also see some subject terms assigned to this collection. And these are also hyperlinks. If you're specifically interested in politicians, you can click on it and you will see all the archival descriptions in the database that have this subject term assigned to them. 1 second, I'll just check my notes if I didn't miss anything. All right, so let's go back to our search results. Once we searched for Michael Luchkovich, and this is what we had. This was a simple search that we did from this global search bar. We can also search, we can also use advanced search to construct a more nuanced search query so that your results are more efficient. If there are too many and overwhelming results, you may want to filter them by, for example, stating that you want this Michael Luchkovich to be mentioned in the title necessarily and not just anywhere in the description. Or you may want to have to see only results that have digital objects attached to them. And if you click on them, so currently we have 95, And you see there's only one result with Michael Luchkovich that has a photograph attached to it. I should note that we do digitize certain parts of collections as we process, but this is not the primary goal. The primary goal is to appraise them, arrange and describe, and make these descriptions, archival descriptions, available online so that researchers and anyone interested can know that we have them and can then approach us and request access to them. For example, we had a researcher from Ukraine who was writing an article on Grigory Turko, which is also a UCAMA collection, and we digitized it. It's a smaller collection, so we were able to digitize and provide access for him to the collection online. So we are doing it more on request because it's a totally different, digitization is a separate question and can do a separate presentation on that. So before I finish, I would like to to show you a few search tips that can make your search, again, more efficient. I would specifically like to talk about Boolean search and wildcards. And if you haven't heard of them, it's perfectly fine. Boolean search means a search constructed using Boolean operators and, or, and not, and they are capitalized. One second, I'll show you. So this picture gives you a good understanding of what Boolean search is. So if you're looking for puppy and kitten, you will only get results that have both puppy and kitten, both terms. If you're looking for puppy or kitten, you would get results with the word puppy in them, or the word kitten, and those that have both. And if you're searching for puppy, not kitten, you will obviously get only results that have puppy, but necessarily do not have kitten in them. So this, let's do some example. Let's search for family or history and click enter. You see we have 469 results. If we click family and type family and history, we have 49 results only. And if we have family or history, that would give us, oh, we did or, sorry, not history. This would give us, again, a different number of results because of different content included. Now, let's move on to the wildcards. Wildcards are special characters that can stand in for an unknown character in the text that you're trying to search. Question mark in this database replaces one character. So if you were to look for some Ivan, let's say, but you were not sure whether Ivan is spelled with V or with W, because as you know, probably many options you can encounter many options. So you type instead I question mark AN and press enter, and you'll see that you get both results with Ivan spelled with V and results with Ivan spelled with W. Another wildcard character is asterisk, which replaces more than one character. So it can be two or more, it doesn't really matter. So if you look for teacher and, or maybe let's do just teach and asterisk, you would get teacher, you would get teaching, you would get teachable, and all the options possible. And the last one I would like to show you is tilde, so this wavy thing, which is typed after your search. So if we are looking, for example, for Bilas, and then put tilde, we would get Mikhailo Bilas, an artist, and we will have a next Focal Launch presentation is about him. So stay tuned and register if you haven't already. But in addition to Bilas, we would also get Bilash. We see Luba Bilash, we have Lemka Bilash here. We also get Bila, and we have Bills. So it's this fuzzy search gets all the similar spelling results for you. And this is all from me for today. After Maria's presentation, I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have them. Thank you. And over to you, Maria.
Well, thank you very much, Maryna. Thank you for this helpful guidelines and tips. I'll definitely use them for my search on our website. And now I have to share screen. Okay, can you see it now? Full
Yes.
screen?
Yes.
Thank you, thank you. Dear colleagues and friends, dear guests, I am very happy to have this opportunity to present today. Thank you very much for coming. Today I'll introduce two of our collections. Both of them were transferred from UCAMA and processed just recently. These are Shevchenko Scientific Society in Western Canada collection. We also call it Entisha, the Entisha collection, and the Ukrainian National Hall collection. I'll start from Entisha collection. By the way, here on screen, you see our archival collections room, and the black boxes on the right side of the picture. These are actually processed UCAMA collections, the beginning of them. So this is 4 boxes of Entisha collections. The materials are divided, grouped into the 19 series of documents. And this collection includes, just a second. Okay, this collection includes incorporating documents, membership rolls, biographies, minutes of meetings, bulletins and newsletters, correspondence, but also list of events attendees, biographies of Entisha members, obituaries, documents related to the programs of Ukrainian book donation to Canadian universities, newspaper clippings, and some other documents. I'll briefly describe some of these groups of documents. These are photographs of statutes that we have in our collection. 2 of them are just drafts of these statutes. And the first one is a draft of statute of the World Council of the Shevchenko Scientific Societies, проєкт статуту Головної ради наукових товариств імені Шевченка. And the second one is a draft of statute of the Shevchenko Scientific Society in Toronto. And the third one is actually a notarized copy of incorporating documents of the Shevchenko Scientific Society in Canada, dated 1959. So usually when we have incorporating documents, we put them first in the collection, as these are very important information about the organization, when it was launched, how it developed, etc., and what rules it has. Minutes of meetings. These 2 black notebooks that you see on screen are also very interesting and very ones. Apparently, they contain minutes of Entisha meetings from 1955 to 1964. Actually, as far as I can judge, this the meeting in 1955 was actually the first meeting that members of Entisha in Edmonton had as an organization. Before that, they were members, but organization was not launched yet. And we have first book starts with a sentence. Збори відбулися в редакції Українських вістей дня 3 грудня 1955 року, о 8 годині вечора, після попереднього усного повідомлення всіх членів НТШ в Едмонтоні та околиці. Meeting took place in the Ukrainian News Office on December 3rd, 1955 at 8 p.m. after verbal notification of the NTSA members in Edmonton and the area. And then we have information about people who participated in this meeting, and the next meeting happened in January 21st, 1956, and this is how the organization actually was founded. So we actually have minutes of meetings during the first 10 years of after the organization emerged. NTSA bulletins and newsletters. I included 4 of them, the earliest ones that we had, and these bulletins are interesting in particular because they were coming to Edmonton long before the organization was founded, was launched in Edmonton in Western Canada. And I assume this made some scholars believe that the organization was established in 1949. I found this date in some publications, but it is not correct date. The actual organization emerged in 1955. But as I mentioned, there were members of organization of NTSA, Shevchenko Scientific Societies, who were receiving newsletters, which actually were issued only for internal use. They the first 3 of them were published in France, in Sarcelles, where the main office of NTSA was located, and the last one bulletin was published in Toronto. So these are bulletins. We have several numbers of each title. Letters of this collection are especially interesting. Quite often, this is not just usual official correspondence, business correspondence. As a matter of fact, NTSA members often mixed private matter with business. So they would start a letter by mentioning their family and health, and then would proceed with something that they wanted to say about business, and that is why these letters are quite often very warm and informal, I would say. I included 4 letters for this presentation. The first one is a letter signed by Zenon Kuzelia as the head of the organization in Sarcelles, and Volodymyr Kubiyovich as general secretary of the organization. Zenon Kuzelia was a head of NTSA for a very short time, from 1949 and he passed away in 1952. So this letter was written and sent just a year before this scholar died. And other letters. So this is one of the earliest letters. It was sent in August 1950, I believe, and some letters from Volodymyr Kubiyovich. But except of this these letters, we have a rich collection of letters from NTSHA members, and I'll mention names of those people that have 2 or more letters in NTSHA collection. These are Богдан Бутюрків, Юліан Буцманюк, Ніколас Флак, Гладишевський, Михайло Гуцуляк, Іван Кейван, Володимир Кубійович і Зенон Кузеля, Лев Трип'якевич, Базил Лаба, Лазорко, Василь Лазорко, Масляник, Мірчук, Орест Старчук, Яр Славутич, Человский, Роман Смолстоцький, a lot of letters from Смолстоцький, Володимир Янів, Стефанія Жмуркевич, Yevhen Vertiporov, who was head of NTSHA in Toronto. And besides these letters, we have abundant correspondence from NTSHA in Toronto in general, including financial and other reports, leaflets, programs of events, invitations, etc. We have also official correspondence with NTSHA in New York, including information about celebrations, book distributions, and conferences, and some other organizations. Okay, what we do not know about this collection, though, is who actually donated it to UCAMA. And because we don't know this, we don't have this information, we cannot identify some documents that most likely belong to the collection creator or person who donated this collection. For example, we have in this collection several notebooks with nicely written notes on history of Ukraine, very detailed and accurate ones, but we don't know whom these notes belong, and I assume that if we knew custodial history of this collection, the author of these notes could have been identified as well. So we have some papers in the NTSHA collection that probably don't belong to the collection itself, but to the people or people, to the person or several people who collected it and donated it. Well, and a few words about Ukrainian National Hall collection. And yes, if you need more information about the collection, please visit our website, and there is more information. Ukrainian National Hall in Edmonton collection. This collection consists of 7 boxes. These is 110 centimeters of textual records divided into 5 series. The Ukrainian National Hall, Український народний дім, organization developed from Просвіта Society, reading room, читальня Товариства Просвіта, which emerged in Edmonton in 1906. In 1917, a building of the Ukrainian National Hall was erected, and an organization aimed at growing cultural and national development of Ukrainian community in Alberta was found. Ukrainian National Hall in Edmonton worked together with the Ukrainian Catholic Unity and is known under the double name, quite often used, as Ukrainian National Hall / Ukrainian Catholic Unity. This collection, Ukrainian National Hall collection, is especially interesting because the Ukrainian National Hall itself functioned as proto-archive that over the years accumulated a big variety of workbooks from different organizations. These workbooks were subsequently donated to UCAMA and then transferred to Bogdan Medvitsky Ukrainian Folklore Archive. You can see on the picture a small number of these workbooks. You see they are aesthetically very nice, and these books quite often were decorated with drawings, and they on their covers or pages. It's funny enough that books which were kept in Ukrainian National Hall could be used if there were blank pages. The book could be used by different organizations, but another organization 10 years later for their own records and notes. So in each book, you can find records from different organizations, and these records could be made in different times. So we could see how efficiently paper was used. We have a lot of records from libraries, list of books that library possessed, people who attended library, books borrowed from the library, a lot of information and names and people can from early times, from the 20s and 30s and even before. And I would like to name some organizations whose workbooks are kept in the Ukrainian National Hall collection. These are obviously Товариство просвіта в Едмонтоні, Ukrainian National Hall, of course, Український народний дім в Едмонтоні, Ukrainian Greek Catholic Society, Boyan Society, Товариство співацько-аматорське Боян, читальня імені Маркіяна Шашкевича, Союз гетьманців-державників, Клуб українських монархістів в Едмонтоні, Братство милосердія святого Йосафата в Копернік, Альберта, Український допомоговий комітет в Альберті, Ukrainian Relief Committee of Alberta, Канадійська січова організація, Братство українців-католиків, Ukrainian Mutual Benefit Association of St. Nicholas of Canada, Рідна школа, Хор Думка, Оркестра, Базар, Книга протоколів парафіальних зборів у справі будови нової церкви в Мандерії, Українська бурса Івана Франка у Вегервіль, Альберта, and several other unknown organizations, and they are unknown because the name is not indicated on the cover and we cannot identify it, therefore. To wrap my presentation, when we were working on this collection, at some point I noticed that some documents had dark black spots on them. And it is when Maryna and I realized that documents were in location where there was a fire. And then we started looking for information and found out that on March 9, 1969, the Ukrainian National Hall, serving the community for over 50 years, burned down. At the beginning of the 1970s, Ukrainian community continued discussing whether Ukrainian organizations would be interested to rebuild the Ukrainian National House through joint efforts. And it is still unknown when the Ukrainian National Hall ceased to exist. We consulted other materials. We consulted materials from provincial archive, and we still don't know this. And I'll stop here. Please visit our website for more information. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm open for questions, comments. Thank you. I'll try to stop sharing.
So thank you very much. I am still here. I still have 10 minutes until my next student. We have time for questions. I suggest we would use the hand sign. Yes, and Olga, go ahead.
Hi, thank you so much for a great presentation. Very interesting. Good to know there are so many materials that we can explore. I have two questions. The first question is whether you had a chance to come across any music-related materials, especially repertoires in collections. I had a chance to scroll a little bit right now, and I saw that Helena Cleet had some songs in the collection, I think. Or maybe you've seen a couple more. So this is the first question. Another question is Ukrainian National Hall. I would be very interested in hearing, did you have a chance to see any repertoires mentioned there? So special songs, maybe people sang. Yeah, thank you.
Well, I can answer about Helena Cleet collection, and Maria, I think, will be able to take the rest. Helena Cleet's collection is quite a special one. She worked on the Radio Canada radio show, Radio Canada International, as a host from 1992 to 1997. So most of what we have are scripts and audio recordings of those radio shows. So there probably are songs within it, but it depends on who she was interviewing and who she had in the studio with her. I don't remember if we published the detailed description. I think we do have it, yeah. So if you find something specifically that you're interested in, again, we are happy to digitize and make it available to you remotely, since you're now still far away. I don't know if this is of interest to you. As for the other collections, I remember seeing many music scores, but I will leave it to Maria.
Thank you. Yes, we have a lot of music scores in many collections. Some collections consist mainly from music scores, I would say. Also text of songs. For example, we have materials collected around choirs, particular choirs. So we have all set of music scores they used over the years. Is it what you asked?
Yeah, thank you. And also, do you happen to remember, were there some mentioning on repertoire in the collection of Ukrainian National Hall?
Repertoire, I think so. I think so. You can find some materials of this kind. I'm pretty sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Don't remember exactly how big is this series, how much materials we can find there, but I'm pretty sure. Yes, there are orchestra. There are some materials related to orchestra in the Ukrainian National Hall, and some materials related to choirs.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Olga. I will abuse my power and ask question myself before even asking if there is more questions to both Maria and Maryna. So you started with saying that there was 300 boxes of archival materials, and then you gave us a list of collections that already processed. So how many boxes are processed? So where are we on this long way to finish processing the UCAMA materials?
That's a question from a director of the Cool Folklore Center. And I don't really have a very clear answer because the boxes were moved to different storage locations. We do know approximate number of boxes in each location, but also we keep discovering additional materials that have to be incorporated in already processed collections. So that happens too. And that list obviously does not directly reflect the number. If I were to give a very, very rough estimate of where we are today, I would say we are about a quarter, maybe nearing the quarter.
Oh, 25%, beautiful. Yeah. In 1 year, it feels that there is the end.
Well, it's a year of intense work, and Maria has done so much. I don't know if we will be able to continue in the same with the same speed, but there's hope. Yes, there's hope.
And you know, to add to that, probably we will be able to continue with the same speed. It depends on how successful we will be in fundraising, because this is a very expensive process. But also a question to Maria in terms of, you know what, sorry, Maria, I will ask you this question personally. I'm really kind of want to get feel of sitting on the piles and piles of these materials. And I wanted to ask you about the best and the most unexpected findings, but I have to start moving. So sorry for leaving the folklore lunch. Next term, my classes are at 2 o'clock, so I will be fine. And Maryna, can you please take over and I will disappear? Sorry.
Yeah, so please feel free to raise your hand if you would like to voice your question, or if you prefer typing it in the chat, that's perfectly fine too. We have a comment from Larissa. Thank you for a wonderful presentation and for the update and tutorial. And I would like to note that we are working on creating short videos for tutorial so that users of the database can watch a 1-2 minute video if they don't really know how to start searching or browsing or finding information in the database. So we hope this will be useful for everyone. And if I see so many familiar names, and I know these people have questions, they're not saying them loud. Olga, would you like to ask something again? Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Sure.
I'll take the chance and ask you another question. There are really so many interesting collections, and I was actually impressed by the amount of them when you listed them, Maryna, at the beginning of your presentation. This is huge, and knowing that each of them can also be huge. Yeah, I'm just wondering, are you anticipating to add all of them to the database at some point?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the goal. That's the goal. We do processing on with a different level of detail or depth, if you will. Sometimes we go rather deep and we describe, you know, the collection, the series level, the file level, and sometimes even items, especially for particular items that are of great potential research interest or things like that. In other cases, we may describe a collection only on the top level, which is still much better than nothing, because researchers all over the world can search and find it. We try to apply subject terms that can also help discover materials. Oh, we have helpers coming.
Audience.
Yeah. So the idea, yes, is to have all of them available online. I believe we may move slower from now on, simply because what has been processed to date was something that was identifiable more or less clear on the boxes that we moved, and sometimes we even had file lists in those boxes, although there was always additional information and more work to do. But the further we proceed, the less organized materials are, so it takes much more time to continue this work. With each step, it's more difficult, I should say. Thank you, Olga.
Great that you're doing this. Yeah, thank you too.
Thank you. Well, if we don't have any other questions, I see it's 1 p.m. Edmonton time. Thank you all for your interest. Thank you for coming. And if you think of a question afterwards, feel free to email the Folklore Center at ukrfolk@yalberta.ca. We will get back to you. And feel free to explore the database. There's a lot to be found. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a nice rest of your day.